Data protection and privacy teams are under more pressure than ever with new laws, AI oversight, data breaches, and the constant expectation to do more with fewer resources.
That's why TrustArc built a modern privacy and data protection management platform powered by Arc Intelligence. It unifies your tools, automates the work that slows you down, and surfaces what matters most right when you need it.
From guided quick actions to our intelligent assistant, Ask Arc, you get credible, contextual answers backed by expert research, not generic AI guesses.
Finally, privacy that works the way privacy pros work.
Learn how TrustArc helps teams move faster with confidence at trustarc.com/serious-privacy. That's trustarc.com/serious-privacy.
This is Serious Privacy by TrustArc. Here are your hosts, Paul Breitbart and Kay Royal.
Hello, hello, hello. This is our last time of doing the podcast while Paul is on vacation recently. Ralph O'Brien has once again agreed to step in as my co-host, and I'll be sad to see him go, but I will be glad to have Paul back. Today, we're going to bring you one of the gentlemen who has made huge strides in privacy, especially in the United Kingdom, and I'm pleased as punch to have him join us. We have Barry Moult, and am I pronouncing your last name right?
Absolutely fine.
Beautiful. So Ralph has suggested Barry to come on our podcast because Barry, from what I can read online, is simply phenomenal. He's very active in the privacy and the data protection world, but what I like most is he used to be a nurse. As y'all know, my history, so I like that. But I'm gathering he kind of grew up in privacy that way, probably started with health privacy because I see a lot that he's done with NHS over in the UK. But he's won a lot of awards, including a Lifetime Award, which sounds like it's well deserved. So Barry, thank you for coming on our show and welcome.
No, welcome. Thank you for having me.
Beautiful. And my name is Kay Royal.
And my name's Ralph O'Brien, and welcome to Serious Privacy.
Privacy. This is going to be the last time he's going to get to rebuke me for that one. I love it. Okay, so Barry, I didn't warn you about this, and if you don't listen to our podcast, don't admit that you don't, you might not realize that we have an unexpected question. Now, my unexpected question may be, do you know of any activities that Ralph engaged in at some point just before Christmas?
This is a setup.
Okay, that won't be the unexpected question, just to let y'all know it wasn't anything horrible. He was dancing. Okay, let's see what an unexpected question would be. They really are unexpected. I pull them out of a book. Ooh, here we go. Might be interesting. What can you smell right now?
Probably my drink, and it's not in a wine glass, but actually it's not wine. It's what we call Vimto.
Ooh.
Cheeky Vimto.
Vimto,
Nice.
yeah.
I like it. What about you, Ralph?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Barry.
I don't know if it goes well with gin, but I'll have to try it one day because you can see behind me. You can see behind on the wall. There's a couple of they're empty gin bottles, so I'll have to try it.
The best.
I like it. Well, that's kind of like my house growing up. There was never a full whiskey bottle.
Too right.
Whiskey or bourbon was the Southern drink. Okay, Ralph.
Well, can I smell? Well, I'm in my new office in the bottom of my garden, and because it's so hot here, the door's open, so I can actually smell freshly cut grass. How's that?
Ooh, that's a wonderful smell. That brings back childhood, doesn't it? Some of the smells that stay with you lifelong from childhood that take you back to hopefully great times. So I'll say right now, and I can't smell it right this instant, but the smell in my house right now is wet dog.
Not as good.
Not as good because Arizona had absolutely atrocious thunderstorms last night. We're in the monsoon season. Apparently this year is going to be a really bad monsoon season. So my yard is a flooded mess right now, and all I can smell is wet dog.
Well, people in the UK would absolutely love some of that rain and some of that stuff. I mean, where we were yesterday, there was lots of grass areas. I'm going to say it's not grass. It was just brown. It was all burnt grass. There was no greenery at all. We're desperate for some rain.
That's the way Arizona is. And believe it or not, for the first time that I've ever known, they're going to implement a water conservation. But yeah, everything's brown. And then, of course, the people that move here, Phoenix is a mecca of people come here from other places. New York, Chicago, usually the cold places, but California, because it's expensive. They bring all their native plants here because they want a taste of home. Native plants don't do well in the desert.
So it's my job to keep us on topic. So what I'm going to do...
I thought this was the topic, but yes. Let's actually get to the topic, Ralph.
So Barry, I mean, perhaps before, I mean, we want to talk about your wonderful achievements, and
Yes.
we want to talk about the UK apprenticeship scheme. But before we do that, Barry, I think perhaps a more general question. You know, you've been in privacy a long time now. You're a nurse a long time before that. So I think, you know, we're just going to ask the question, why privacy? Why data protection? How did you get to where you are now?
Ooh.
Yes.
Well, okay, so let me start back because you're absolutely right. I did train as a nurse in the Royal Air Force back in the 1970s. So that's why Barry has not got much hair, grey and old and wrinkly. And I served in the Royal Air Force. I trained as a nurse. I did a tour overseas in Oman. And then I came back and I worked in local hospital in theatres as a theatre nurse. And then I went to do occupational health for a big company, the Michelin Tire Company. I worked for 10 years for them, doing occupational health. Then I did some, Then I did some work for the MOD over on the continent in Belgium and Germany. And then when I came back, I thought, what am I going to do now? I'd been out of nursing just for a few years, so I had to get back into nursing. So I got a job which was part-time working in accident and emergency department. But I also got a job because I did a computer course. And it's interesting. I just found up in the loft this book called Paradox. Ralph, if you know anything about it and whatever.
Oh, nice.
Paradox was when computers were just the bare, basic, simple things. And I did a course at the local college, and I got on so well on the course, they asked me to teach the next one. So in many ways, that was my first introduction to anything to do with information and data. What also happened is I was working part-time in the A&E department, and I was working part-time for the local council doing some training. And what happened, this was 1998, and Ralph will tell us what happened in 1998, Ralph?
Well, it's the second UK Data Protection Act, of course.
And what they wanted was somebody to go around all the departments and teach about the Data Protection Act. And there's about 5 of us. We all looked at each other, and I must have been the most dumbest looking person in the room because everybody else walked out and left me there. So it fell on my lap. And I said, well, what do you want me to tell them? They said, well, anything, 4 or 5 things from this Data Protection Act that they need to be aware of. Well, I knew nothing. So I went away and I read for a couple of days and I came back. I didn't have a PowerPoint presentation. I think I had something on a flip chart. And I just showed those 4 or 5 things. Don't ask me what they were. I cannot remember. And it took me about...
But I love it. I love it, Barry, because just a few years later, I was doing the exact same thing in the U.S. with HIPAA.
Yeah.
I was a nurse when HIPAA went live, and HIPAA was proposed around that same time, actually passed, but didn't go into effect fully until 2003. But you were a nurse when the Privacy Act came live. I was a nurse when the Privacy Act came live. Are we related?
Might be, but I'm not going to admit to anything like that. But it's interesting because I think I did about 15 minutes and I thought, oh, that was a disaster. But actually, that was good. And then they said, will you go into the next department? And I think I went into about 12, 15 departments doing this.
Wow.
And and I was doing other training as well. But what happened was a job came up at the hospital I was working at doing this data protection privacy part-time. So I thought to myself, I could do that in the morning and I could do my nursing in the afternoon, all in one place. Done deal. So I went for the interview and I got the job. And that's what I did for the next 3 or 4 years. And then in 2003, we brought in the National Health Service, we brought in what they called the Information Governance Toolkit. And Ralph will know. It's an assurance.
I'm familiar with that too.
Yeah, it's an assurance tool. And when it came out, they wanted...
Now the DSPT, of course.
Yes, yeah. So what they wanted was somebody full-time. And I thought, I'd still enjoy my nursing. So, no, it wasn't for me. So I told them, recruit somebody else. And they advertised, they didn't appoint. They advertised, didn't appoint. And then after about 9-10 months, they come back and said, Barry, we can't. Will you please take this job? And I thought, okay, go on then. So I took the job. So around about 2003, I took it full time. So I've been doing it part time, and I took it full time, and that's what I've been doing.
So you're telling me in 2003, 2004-ish, you quit nursing and moved into a legal area?
No, not really, because I still carried on. That was my full-time day job. I still carried on in a couple of evenings a week, or maybe one evening a week, and then maybe a night shift at the weekend doing my nursing. But also because in the hospital, I was a senior manager. I was senior manager on call. 5 o'clock at night, or when I was on at weekends, when everybody else went home, I was then left to go around the wards. Because I was a nurse, I could help with drug rounds, I could help with dressings, and, I could help on the ward. So I did enough to keep my registration. So for the next 18, 20 years, I still kept my registration.
Wow.
So yes, and it was only about 5 years ago I let my registration go.
So, wow, only 5 years ago. That I never knew that. I never knew you were. So when I first met you, Barry, you were still an active nurse. I never even realised.
Yeah, so that's what I did. But my main job, full-time job, was data protection privacy in the NHS. I worked at large acute hospitals until I sort of semi-retired about 4 years ago.
I am impressed.
Yeah, what's been the biggest change throughout that sort of long and distinguished time you've spent, you think? Apart from the GDPR, we can put the GDPR aside.
We'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
I think it's been, and I don't think people would agree with it, I think it's been a cultural change. Because back in, 2000, 2003, data protection was not really something people took notice of. But I think over the years, it's become more and more people, even patients, became aware of their data. The staff in the hospital became more aware, were collecting more data. A lot of it was moving from paper to electronic, although we still had lots of paper records. And I think over the years, there's been a big change. And I think the big change is that we've now got more data that's readily available electronically.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. Yeah. So obviously a couple of years ago, you managed to win, what was it, the ICO's Privacy Professional of the Year?
Excellent.
Tell us about that, Barry. How did that come about?
I think it was excellence in data protection. It was
I apologise.
No, it's fine. Somebody did nominate me, and I'm still trying to guess who it might be. I think I have an idea, but the person says they won't admit. They said they won't confirm or deny. And I think it's because I also started round about 2003-4 when I became full-time. When the Information Governance Toolkit came out, Ralph, none of us working in about 4 or 5 acute hospitals were sure what we had to evidence in that toolkit. So we got together and we called it an IG forum. And that East of England IG forum just blossomed, and it grew and it grew and it grew. We then included local authorities as well. We included private healthcare providers. And I chaired that for about 18 years. And about 2 years ago, I gave that up. I also chaired the National Information Governance Network. So I think it's because of all that. And I was involved in the updates of the toolkit. And I was a very practical person. And I was always asked to contribute to lots and lots of different things for the NHS. And I think somebody must have recognised that, I've had a lot of experience and nominated me from the NHS. So
it sounds like it was well-deserved. Just going to say. Sounds like well-deserved.
You'd have to ask my colleagues, not me.
Ralph speaks highly of you.
I do. It's rare, actually, to kind of, I kind of think of myself as, not old hat, that's the wrong word, as one of the veterans, I guess. I often describe myself spending the last 25 years fighting the rear guard of a losing action when it comes to data protection. It's rare that I meet somebody who has been doing it for as long or longer. There's a few people out there: Martin Hopkins, Dr. Chris Pounder, Stuart Dresner, of course, and of course Barry. So, hats off to those people who I respect, who've been doing it since the 1980s.
Yeah, but Ralph, I think one thing where I come from is, having worked in 2 big acute hospitals, what people want to know, the staff on the wards, the managers want to know is, what can we do, Barry, and what can we not do? And it was more of a practical. So my application is, you've got the law, but it's no good me quoting articles of GDPR or section of the Data Protection Act, what they want to know is, Barry, what can we do? What can't we do? And so it's like when you write policies, I've seen policies, you should do this or you may do this. It's not. It's you must do this or you must not do this. I'm a very practical person, and it's interpretation of the law in practice. It's interpretation of guidance in practice. One thing I don't...
Ralph and I agree with you on that, by the way.
Yeah.
We're both very much practitioners, and we just recorded an episode that we talked about policies and saying may and should and shall and must and all of that. And we're both very much practitioners, hand-on. I have a word for mixing the academic with the practitioner. So you've got the brainiacs and you've got the hands-on. So why not just call it brains-on?
Brains, yeah. Yeah,
I don't think it's going to take off. I'm just saying, I don't think it's going to take off, but there you go.
I speak to a lot of my colleagues. So Ralph will know that one of my best friends is Andrew. And Andrew has got, qualifications.
Do I know Andrew?
No.
Okay.
I actually saw Andrew when I was on holiday last week. Andrew's got qualifications, got degrees. I don't have anything like that. I've done lots of courses and whatever. I've got my nursing qualifications, but when it comes to privacy, I don't have any. What I do have, I hope, is a practical experience of how do we do it. And, I take it from there.
Tip, word to the wise, if you're ever at a conference and you ever get to see Barry and Andrew doing their double act, and it is a double act, don't go in expecting a dry presentation, death by PowerPoint, or whatever the latest legal cases are. Expect some sort of Morecambe and Wise comedy, including quizzes and dances and bizarre. What was your last one you did at the IRMS, Barry? Go ahead.
Yeah, so it started off. It was IRMS some years ago, and it was before GDPR came in, so it must have been about 2017, 2016. And what we said is, look, there are going to be 30 people doing PowerPoint presentations. Let's do something different. So Andrew and I said, well, it wasn't a Morecambe and Wise, it was Smith and Jones. So if you don't know Smith and Jones, they sit at a table, it's called Talking Heads. And they sit there talking about, so what do you think about these new cars then? But we said, let's talk about GDPR. Let's talk about privacy. Let's talk about security. And we did. But we had a pint of beer in our hand. We called it a pub chat. And so we did
a pub chat.
Yes.
There you go. I love it.
And so what Ralph was referring to last year, we thought, pub chat's now done its time. Let's change it. So we have a thing, a quiz program in this country called Mastermind. And they're asked a question and they have to answer the question in a certain time. But we had a minute. So Andrew asked me a question. I had a minute. And at the end of the minute, somebody tinged a glass.
Buzzed you.
And you had to finish. So, that's what we did. And it was a minute. He asked me, I asked him.
I love it.
You know what? I actually like that. I actually think as if you can't answer a data protection question in a minute, there's a problem somewhere.
There's
right?
a problem. And I do love it because I've done similar. I hate boring talks myself. I've done the dating game, and you reminded me back when GDPR came live, we did a dating game with Phil Lee of Field Fisher, and I think it was the general counsel of Box, and I forget who else was there. But what we did is one of us was SCCs, one of us was BCRs, and one of us was God only knows something else. And we interviewed each other as to, or the person was playing the dating game to pick which one they wanted to do based on the questions. So I resonate with how you do this. I love it. Creativity and practicality.
You need a lot of that.
Yeah, I don't know whether I should say this. You could edit this bit out.
Oh, you can say it.
Do you know Robert Smallwood?
The name sounds very familiar.
Yes, I do. Yeah,
Robert Smallwood. I forget what it is IG something. He lives in Mexico, but he does a big IG thing in Robert Smallwood. Does a big thing in the States, and has he does a conference each September, and I don't know if they had one last year or it might have been the year before. And he asked whether Andrew and I would come and do this pub chat. Have you found him?
Yes. And I just sent him a connection. Who knows if he will?
Yeah. So we did this, and he's asked whether we'll do it again this year because he said the American people loved your pub chat. So we might do it again. Well, we're doing one in September. We haven't quite confirmed what we're going to do. But
I love it. So when I get my privacies thing off the ground, where I do a privacy conference on a cruise ship, privacies, we might even add security to it. We were not able to do it this year. We might be able to do it early next year. I'm working with someone in the cruise lines, figure out when we could do it. You're going to have to come to a pub chat on the privacies, on the high seas.
I can do it with Ralph.
Yeah, not a problem.
Yes.
I'd be more than happy with that.
Oh, yeah.
So Barry, 20 years experience, you've just stepped down as, chair of the Eastern Region IG Forum. You've been doing for 20 years. You could say you've done your time. I can slide off. I've got my Lifetime Achievement Award. I've got these accolades from the ICO, time to go and rest somewhere, a well-earned rest. But no, you've come back strong with this UK apprenticeship scheme. So tell us about the UK apprenticeship scheme.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, well, if people know about apprenticeships it gives a background, a foundation to lots and lots of industries, whether that's in the building, the retail, the finance. And sometimes it's for new starters, 16, 17-year-old leaving school and looking for a career. But sometimes it can be for people who are already in jobs but need some foundation. And so what I thought was, a few years ago, I was having to take an apprentice to support me and my colleagues in our office. And the training they did was a business administration apprenticeship. Now, that's absolutely fine and it's good. But when they came to the end of the apprenticeship in 12, 18 months' time, job might come up in human resources or in facilities, and they would apply for it. And because it might be a promotion, they would leave and go. And what he didn't give is any succession planning in our department. So I thought we needed something, succession planning. How do we bring new blood into and can see that this is a really exciting, very various job with lots of different parts to it? Yes, it can be frustrating and it can be, I want to scream.
Yeah.
But it really is a fantastic, career to have. So when GDPR came in, we now have DPOs, data protection officers. And they can command.
Now,
yeah, well, for the time being anyway. We've got somebody at the top, if you like. We need to bring people through so they can see a career. So what can we put together? Let's put together a data protection, information governance, privacy, whatever you wish to call it, apprenticeship, so that they can then get the foundation. So in this apprenticeship, we've got 10 standards. And the standards go through all the things that you would expect. So the data protection impact assessments, how to complete one, how to review one, how to assess risk, how to mitigate risks. Another one might be about training. This person may have not done any training before. So what do they need to think about? What are the important things? How do they make it interesting? And then another one might be about policies. So if I might say, well, here's a policy, it's due for review, have a look at it, make some suggestions. And they do that, and then it comes back. So they are learning all the time. And then hopefully at the end of the 12, 18 months, they will have a good foundation of, privacy, information governance. And we'll see this as a great career and a great opportunity. And for many people, it's, for people like Ralph and myself, we have made it our careers. Would I have started earlier? Maybe I would have done if I'd have known. But, it's been absolutely great. It's made me old and grey, but before my time, maybe. But I think...
Trust me, we're all there with you.
Yeah. But we were talking the other day, in fact, Dr. Kay and I were talking the other day about, qualifications. And, people will go on a 2-day course and then come off it having answered a multiple choice test and go, wait, I'm now a data protection practitioner. I'm now a data protection expert, perhaps.
Or no course, and they just take the IAPP and they get their certifications, and externally people think they know what they're doing.
Well, that happened just when GDPR came in, Ralph. As you know, people went on and did a 2-day course, and they now call themselves certified DPOs. That particularly worries me, because if you were recruiting somebody, and I don't blame companies because they don't know and they don't understand. If somebody says they are certified, they've been on a 2-day course, company might say, that's the person we want. But then I would
Exactly.
say, ask yourself this question: how much a risk is that person giving advice? Because that's the role of the DPO, to give advice to a company. What is the risk if they give the wrong advice? Because they have no experience. And I see that now, and there's, it's on LinkedIn, and Ralph will know it's on LinkedIn. Come and do our courses, and I'll take you from an Uber driver to a DPO earning 100K a year in 6 months. I find the risk behind that is terrible, really.
Right.
It is.
Well, and frankly, it's the cart before the horse, but is it? Is it the chicken and egg thing? If you're going to enter the profession and you want to learn and do, you kind of have to go get the certifications and do it. That way you're learning and have something to show for it, but you don't have the experience.
Yeah.
But you can't usually get the experience if you don't have the certifications, because companies want the certifications.
And sometimes it can be worse. Sometimes it can be knowing enough to be dangerous. So, for example, if you only know about the GDPR, for example, here in Europe, you might not know about the national legislation like the Data Protection Act or the PECR here in the UK. Right. And that can trip you up quite often.
Yeah.
One thing I will say is, and I don't have a problem and an issue. I do lots of training. I don't have an issue with people going on training courses and getting certificates and that sort of thing.
Right.
I think it shows personal development. And, that's absolutely great. And I would encourage people. The apprenticeship is get on an apprenticeship course and, learn, if you like, the foundations, the beta, and build on it. But those qualifications does not mean that you know all the answers.
And I don't know all the answers, and I have to say this, I've been doing this for, well over 20 years now. I don't believe in data protection experts because there's always new stuff to learn, new laws coming out, new bills. There's always new case law. There's always industry sectors I go into where I might not know the industry sector. So I would never call myself an expert. Now, but I think what you're
people who claim they know it all, those are the ones you need to run from.
But Ralph, two things. An expert, I say never let anybody call you an expert, because you know what an X is? An X is a has-been. And a spurt is a drip under pressure. So never let anybody call you an expert. But you're absolutely right. But the whole point of the apprenticeship is that, we can develop people to come into the industry. I know of organizations that struggle to recruit because they have nobody. And it was just today I've seen somebody who said they're leaving, they're going on, and they've got somebody to replace them. And I've had a look where this person is. They've got 2 years experience. Now, I don't blame this organization for recruiting them because there are very few people out there with the experience. Now, if we can bring people through, then, we might be in a better position.
Now, how many internships are you doing? And we're going to bring this to a close a little bit, but I do want to, how many internships are you doing? And is it just with y'all, or is this you do internships and they're fostered with other companies? Or
so how it works is that the apprenticeship standard has been approved by the Department of Education, and there's funding that goes with it, and the funding is about £10,000.
Okay.
That doesn't pay their salary.
Good?
They're already employed by the organisation. That is towards their training.
Okay.
There are 3 training organisations throughout the country that can recruit people onto the apprenticeship scheme. One has already started. There's another one starting in September. And the other one, I don't know just yet when they are going to launch. But it's interesting because we were asked, how many people do you think will take up the apprenticeship in the first year? I have no idea. But again, it depends on these training companies that are delivering the apprenticeship, of how many they can bring on, in different cohorts. So it's on there, it's going, and it will grow.
Well, I'm not going to lift the lid too much by saying that both Barry and I are trainers on the apprenticeship scheme. And I did a session the other day, and there was about 25 to 30 on that session. So, the first cohort, I believe, is around 30 individuals, so not huge. Yeah. But, once that expands through 2-3 training companies taking on a cohort per year, that's a significant number of privacy professionals.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was just updating some material the other day and had occasion to go look back up the numbers. IAPP had estimated in 2017 there would be 75,000 new privacy professionals to cover the need for the DPOs. And then in 2019, found out there were over 500,000 companies who had registered DPOs in Europe. Now, one DPO can cover multiple companies. We know this, but even if you sliced it in half, that's 3 times the number that had been estimated. So that's huge.
And you also have to remember that a DPO is supposed to be a higher level of privacy professional than your standard privacy practitioner. You know, you're supposed to be a privacy practitioner, be a privacy manager, and then be so good that you become a DPO at more of a senior level, right?
And isn't that one of the problems, though, Ralph, is that they've seen privacy in organizations, including the NHS, as being a very junior job in some ways, giving advice. But GDPR brought it in at a higher level, but we still struggle for us to be recognised at that senior level. It's happening in, now we're moving, the law in health and care in the UK has just changed. And we've now got these different organisations. And I think they are recognising that, you know, the person who is the DPO has to be at a very senior level, associate director level.
Yeah.
But it'll take a while for that to filter through. But as they go
it
there,
will.
Who is taking those lower jobs, you know, we need to bring people through. So that's where the apprenticeship comes in.
Beautiful. Love it. Well, as we close out the show, when we asked you to come on, which thank you, Ralph, brilliant. When we asked you to come on, was there anything that you wanted to make sure that you could share with our listeners that is something you just got to get off your chest, something you need to share?
Ooh, something I could share. Get off my... It's one of those things that if you work in privacy, it's about opinions sometimes. And there are a lot...
Oh, Ralph isn't opinionated at all.
Neither is Kay.
Neither is Barry. But I have this saying that if you ask 10 privacy professionals for an opinion, you will get 10 different answers. Now,
or 15.
Or but it doesn't mean to say they are all wrong either. It's just that they're coming from their own background, their own experience, their own industries, and of how that will apply. And it depends on the risk appetite of the organization you're working with. Now, in health, you could have 3 hospitals within 15 miles of each other, and each will have a different risk appetite. And therefore, you know, what I might say to them is say, I think you ought to do this. They'll say, no, we're not doing that. Another one say, oh, absolutely. But is there anything else we can do on top of? But so, you know, it is. And that's what makes it so fascinating. And I would say to people, don't get upset if people have a different opinion. And there is somebody who I know on LinkedIn who I made a comment on. They didn't like it. They now have told me not to comment on their LinkedIn posts. But, you know, and I understand it. But I understand it in some ways. But we all have different opinions. And Rolf might come from a different, you know, talk about controllers or, you know, data controllers or processors or joint controllers. We may have a different thought on it about when does somebody become a joint controller. It doesn't mean to say Ralph's wrong or I'm wrong. It just means that from our experience, we have something different.
And if I'm not mistaken, and I'm going to speak on one point, in the UK, you have a concept of co-controller in addition to joint controller, which is a little bit different of a phase. But you're right. It's not that things are black and white or pink and blue. There's a lot of shades and very few hard lines in privacy. So
we used to call it controllers in common, which is...
Oh, controllers in common. Thank you.
Yeah, but
which is a little different than joint controllers, and I love that distinction. So, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. Our listeners will love having you on. So, I thank you very much. Typical closing: if you like us, please rate us in your app. Give us some comments. Let everybody know how much you love us. You can follow us on Twitter. We're at Podcast Privacy. Paul is Euro Paul B. I am Heart of Privacy. Ralph is IGR.
O'Brien. Yeah.
O'Brien. Yeah. Hey, I almost had that one. Barry, are you on Twitter? Do you have a Twitter handle?
Yeah, I'm just Baz for Barry, Baz Moult.
Love it. Love it at all. And you can find, I'll make sure I put all the links in there. You can also find all of us on LinkedIn, including a Sirius privacy page. So please feel free to comment, to show up, to ask questions. We love y'all as much as y'all love us. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Cheers now.
Until next time. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
That was Sirius Privacy.
If you're a data protection or privacy professional, you already know the pressure. Non-stop regulatory change, AI oversight, internal demands, and the expectation to somehow stay ahead of it all. And the old patchwork of tools just isn't cutting it anymore.
No. That's why TrustArc created a modern privacy management platform powered by Arc Intelligence. The TrustArc platform brings your workflows, evidence, research, tasks, and applications all together in one unified and intelligent workspace so you don't waste time digging, clicking, or context switching.
With Ask Arc, your privacy assistant, you can ask plain language questions about laws, jurisdictions, or even your own program data and get credible, cited answers based on NIMBY research and more than 1,000 global laws. It's explainable, transparent, and purpose-built for data protection and privacy.
So if you need to add a vendor, create a cookie banner, or start an assessment, quick actions take formally complex tasks, turn them into bite-sized guided workflows to save you time.
It's a platform that thinks like you, works like you, and helps you move faster with confidence, whether you're a seasoned DPO or you're just getting started.
See how modern privacy gets done. Explore Arc at trustarc.com/serious-privacy. That's trustarc.com/serious-privacy.